You clicked on this video because you feel alone. That wasn't a guess. That was a diagnosis. And here's what you don't understand yet. Your loneliness isn't circumstantial. It's structural. You built it. Every day, with every smile you forced, every boundary you erased, every time you made yourself smaller to fit into someone else's world. You are alone because you taught people you were disposable. This video will not comfort you. It will not tell you that things will get better, or that you're enough just as you are. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your friend. I'm the voice you've been avoiding your entire life. The one that tells you the truth you already know, but refuse to accept. Most people should stop watching now, because what comes next is irreversible. Once you see the mechanisms behind your isolation, you cannot go back to blaming circumstance. You cannot return to victimhood. You will be responsible. And that terrifies most people more than loneliness ever could. If you're still here, understand this. I will speak to you the way a surgeon speaks to a patient who insisted they were fine while the disease spread. With precision, without sentiment, without apology. You are about to undergo a psychological autopsy while you're still alive. Let's begin. You feel alone because you've been performing. Every interaction you have is a transaction where you overpay. You give attention, validation, availability, and emotional labor in exchange for scraps of acknowledgement. You think you're being kind. You think you're being good. You're not. You're being cheap. And people can smell it. When you enter a room, you scan for approval. Your body language folds inward. Your voice rises at the end of sentences, turning statements into questions. You laugh too quickly at things that aren't funny. You agree too easily with opinions you don't hold. You are a servant negotiating for a master's kindness. Machiavelli understood something you don't. The person who needs less always holds the power. Always. And you need constantly. You need them to like you, to include you, to remember you exist. That need leaks from every pore. It announces itself in every text message you send too quickly, every conversation you dominate to prove your worth, every silence you fill because you're terrified of what it might mean. You are alone because you made yourself common, and the common are always expendable. This is the point of no return. If you continue, you accept that your isolation is not happening to you. It is coming from you. If that distinction breaks you, leave now. What follows is only for those ready to stop begging for a seat at tables. They should be building themselves. You talk too much, not because you're naturally talkative, but because you're afraid. Afraid that silence means you're boring. Afraid that if you're not constantly performing, people will forget you're there. So you fill every gap with noise. You explain yourself when no one asked. You justify your choices to people who have no authority over your life. You narrate your thoughts as if your existence requires a live commentary track. This is servant behavior. A king does not explain. A king does not chase conversation to prove his relevance. He speaks when his words carry weight, and the room leans in because scarcity creates value. You have made your words abundant, and abundance breeds contempt. Here's what you don't realize. Every time you over-explain, you're telling people you don't believe you deserve to be heard. Every time you laugh nervously to soften your presence, you're announcing that you're not a threat. Every time you fill silence with anxious chatter, you're performing submission, and people treat you accordingly. Machiavelli wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But before fear or love comes, respect. And respect is never given to those who audition for it constantly. Respect is extracted through presence, through the command of space, through the refusal to dilute yourself for comfort. From this moment forward, you will practice scarcity of speech. When someone asks you a question, answer it. Then stop. Do not elaborate unless asked. Do not fill the silence that follows. Let it sit there, heavy and uncomfortable. Watch what happens. Watch how people suddenly become more interested in what you might say next. Watch how your attention becomes valuable the moment you stop giving it freely. You will feel the urge to break this, to explain yourself, to soften the edges. Resist it. That urge is the voice of your conditioning, the voice that has kept you weak and available and alone. Starve it. If you're uncomfortable, leave now. It gets worse. You are too available. You respond to messages within seconds. You rearrange your schedule for people who wouldn't rearrange their lunch break for you. You show up to every gathering, every invitation, every casual suggestion of plans, terrified that missing one event means permanent exile from the group. This is how you trained them to take you for granted. Machiavelli understood the psychology of value. What is always present loses its power. The sun rises every day, and no one writes poems about it anymore. But an eclipse, rare, temporary, dangerous, commands the attention of millions. You are the sun in other people's lives, reliable, constant, ignored. You must become the eclipse. This doesn't mean playing games. It means reclaiming your time as your most non-renewable resource and spending it like a king allocates gold, strategically, intentionally, with full awareness that every yes to someone else is a no to yourself. Here's the correction. When someone asks for your time, pause. Not to calculate a manipulative response, but to genuinely assess whether this aligns with your priorities. If it doesn't, decline. No explanation, no justification, no softening language like, "I'm sorry, I wish I could, but maybe next time." Just, "I can't." Watch what happens. Some people will disappear. Good. They were only there because you were convenient. Others will suddenly treat your time as valuable, because you demonstrated that you treat it as valuable. They will plan around you. They will ask earlier. They will appreciate the time you do give, because it is no longer assumed. You have been a doormat because you feared becoming a door. But doors have purpose. Doors control access. Doors decide who enters and who waits outside in the cold. Most people fail here. They hear this and immediately think they need to start canceling plans and ignoring messages to prove a point. That's not power. That's theater. The difference is intent. A king doesn't withhold presence to punish. He allocates presence because his time is the currency of his kingdom, and he does not devalue his currency through inflation. Your absence must be as intentional as your presence. If that sounds cold, you're beginning to understand. You've been optimizing for the wrong variable. Every day you wake up and ask yourself, how can I make people like me today? You choose your clothes, your words, your opinions, your entire behavioral presentation based on what you think will make you more palatable, more friendly, more warm, more harmless, and it has made you powerless. Here's the truth. Machiavelli knew that you don't. Likability is not a foundation. It's a byproduct. People do not respect those they merely like. They respect those who are undeniably competent, those who deliver results, those who cannot be easily replaced. You are easily replaced because you've spent your energy being nice instead of being necessary. Think about the people in your life who command respect. Not affection, respect. They are not the warmest. They are not the most agreeable. They are the ones who, when they speak, people listen because their track record speaks first. They are respected because they have built something, mastered something, proven something that cannot be dismissed. You have built nothing that cannot be dismissed, and so you compensate with personality, with humor, with agreeableness, with emotional availability. You think if you're just kind enough, helpful enough, present enough, people will value you. But value is not assigned through kindness. Value is assigned through irreplaceability. From now on, you will shift your focus from being liked to being essential. Develop a skill that makes you indispensable. Master a craft that people need. Build competence so undeniable that your presence is not a social courtesy, but a strategic necessity. This is not about career. This is about identity. This is about becoming someone whose absence creates a void that cannot be filled by anyone else's smile or kindness. Here's the brutal part. You will become lonelier at first. Because competence isolates. Mastery requires hours that others spend socializing. Excellence demands sacrifice that the average person is unwilling to make. You will spend nights alone building, while others are out bonding over mediocrity. But loneliness born from pursuit is not the same as loneliness born from worthlessness. One is temporary and fertile. The other is permanent and barren. The competent are never truly alone. They are surrounded by those who need them, even if they're not surrounded by those who casually like them. And in the economy of power, need always trumps affection. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. You give your emotions away for free. Someone upsets you, and you react immediately. Someone praises you, and you light up like a dog getting a treat. Someone ignores you, and you spiral into anxiety. You are a puppet, and everyone around you knows exactly which strings to pull. This is why you lose every interaction before it begins. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the dangers of being governed by passion. Not because passion is wrong, but because visible passion is vulnerability. When people know what makes you angry, sad, desperate, or joyful, they know how to control you. They know how to extract concessions. They know how to manipulate you into positions that serve them. You have been broadcasting your emotional frequencies your entire life, and people have been tuning in to exploit them. Here's the correction. Emotional detachment. Not emotional absence. Detachment. You will still feel, but you will create a delay between stimulus and response. Someone insults you, and instead of reacting, you observe. You note the insult. You consider its validity. You assess the speaker's intent. And only then, if you choose, do you respond. Not from emotion, but from strategy. This terrifies people. Because the person who does not react cannot be controlled. The person who remains calm when others expect anger or hurt or desperation becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. You must become illegible. When someone tries to provoke you, your face reveals nothing. When someone praises you, you accept it without the desperate gratitude they expected. When someone withdraws attention, you do not chase. You simply continue, unbothered, unmoved, present, but untouchable. This is not sociopathy. This is sovereignty. This is the difference between reacting to your environment and commanding it. Practice this in small interactions first. Someone says something designed to hurt you. Instead of defending yourself, instead of explaining, instead of reacting, simply pause. Look at them and say nothing, or say, interesting. Then move on. Watch how destabilized they become. Watch how the power dynamic shifts the moment they realize their weapon doesn't work on you. Your emotional reactions have been the leash others use to walk you. Cut it. Most people cannot do this. They need the catharsis of reaction. They need to be seen as hurt or angry or affected. They need the emotional discharge. You are no longer most people. If this sounds inhuman, good. You're ready for the next law. You've been looking for your people, your tribe, your community, your group of like-minded individuals who will understand you and validate you and make you feel less alone. You've joined communities, attended meetups, forced yourself into social circles, all in search of belonging. And you're still alone. Here's why. You're operating from a position of need. You're looking for a tribe to join because you have no territory of your own. You're a wanderer begging for citizenship in someone else's kingdom. Machiavelli's entire philosophy rests on a simple premise: build your own state or serve someone else's. There is no third option. You are either a prince or a subject, and subjects are always expendable. You feel alone because you are territorially homeless. You have no domain, no kingdom, no space in this world that you command, and others must enter on your terms. You exist in other people's territories, playing by other people's rules, hoping they'll let you stay. This is why you feel like a guest in your own life. The correction is not to find better tribes. The correction is to build your own territory. Territory is not geographic. It's psychological. It's a body of work, a standard of excellence, a set of principles, a domain of expertise, a creative output, a business, a platform, a reputation. Anything that is undeniably yours and requires others to come to you to access it. When you have territory, you stop seeking belonging. You offer it. People come to you, not because you're charismatic or warm or fun, but because you've built something they want access to. You become the center, not the orbiter. Think about every person you've ever seen command a room without effort. They are not chasing connection. They have built something, a skill, a reputation, a presence that pulls connection toward them. They are not trying to join the party. They are the reason there is a party. You must stop trying to fit into existing structures and start building your own. This is lonely work. Lonelier than what you're experiencing now. Because building territory requires you to withdraw from the social economy entirely for a period. To stop attending. To stop participating. To stop caring whether people miss you. You must disappear into creation. But the loneliness of building is the opposite of the loneliness of begging. One is generative. The other is corrosive. When you return with territory, you return as something new. Not as someone seeking approval, but as someone offering access. The dynamic inverts, and your loneliness transforms from a crisis of worth into a filter for quality. If you're uncomfortable, you should be. This is the law that separates those who complain about isolation from those who weaponize it. You have been treating rejection as failure. Every time someone doesn't text back, doesn't invite you, doesn't choose you, you internalize it as evidence of your inadequacy. You replay the interaction. You search for what you did wrong. You adjust your behavior to avoid future rejection. This is how you became a shapeshifter, with no shape of your own. Machiavelli understood that rejection is not judgment, it's information. It's the market telling you where you don't fit. And instead of mourning that, you should be celebrating it. Because every rejection eliminates a path that would have wasted your time. You feel alone because you've been trying to be everything to everyone. You've been contorting yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed for you. And every rejection is the universe telling you to stop. But you don't listen. You try harder. You become more accommodating. You lower your standards. You accept breadcrumbs. You tolerate disrespect. Anything to avoid the feeling of being unwanted. Here's what you need to understand. Being unwanted by the wrong people is a victory, not a loss. Every person who rejects you is doing you a service. They are removing themselves from your path. They are clarifying that they are not aligned with who you are or who you're becoming. And instead of being grateful for that clarity, you're mourning the loss of their approval. This is insane. From now on, every rejection is data. Someone doesn't respond to your message, data, They don't invite you. Data. They choose someone else. Data. Do not assign emotion to it. Do not create narratives about your worth. Simply note it and adjust your targeting. You have been casting a wide net, hoping to catch anyone. This is why you're alone. You need to start using a spear. Precision over volume. Quality over quantity. Alignment over availability. Stop trying to be wanted by everyone. Start building yourself into someone who is undeniable to the right people, and let everyone else fall away without ceremony. This will feel like death at first, because your identity has been built on the approval of the many. But the many are mediocre. The many are distracted. The many will forget you the moment you stop performing for them. Your goal is not to be remembered by the many. Your goal is to be essential to the few. And the few are not found through accommodation. They are found through excellence, selectivity, and the refusal to dilute yourself for mass appeal. Rejection is not your enemy. Dilution is. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. And most people can never unsee it, which is why they stay stuck exactly where they are, wondering why nothing changes. If you've made it this far, you're no longer the person who started this video. You've seen the mechanisms, you've heard the diagnosis, and now you have a choice. Return to the comfort of your old patterns, or step into the discomfort of reconstruction. Most will choose comfort. They will close this video, feel briefly motivated, and by tomorrow, they'll be back to over-explaining, over-giving, over-performing. Back to begging for belonging in spaces that will never value them. But you're not most people. Not anymore. You understand now that loneliness is not something that happens to you. It's something you create through 1,000 small acts of self-betrayal. Every time you laughed when you wanted to leave. Every time you stayed when you wanted to go. Every time you softened your truth to fit someone else's comfort. You are alone because you abandoned yourself first, and now you're going to take yourself back. This is not a motivational arc. This is a surgical procedure. You are removing the parts of yourself that were installed by people who had no business engineering your identity. You are extracting the need for approval, like a tumor. You are cauterizing the wounds you've been keeping open in hopes that someone would care enough to bandage them. No one is coming. And that's not the tragedy you thought it was. That's the liberation you've been too afraid to accept. You are going to build your territory. You are going to develop competence so sharp that people cut themselves trying to ignore it. You are going to practice silence until your words become events instead of noise. You are going to withdraw your presence until it becomes a reward, not a given. You are going to master emotional detachment until you become uncontrollable. And you are going to do all of this alone, not because you have to, but because that's where power is forged, in isolation, in the hours when no one is watching and no one is validating, and no one is there to applaud your progress. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in exile, alone, stripped of power, and he wrote the most influential manual on power the world has ever seen. Not in spite of his isolation, but because of it. Your loneliness is not a weakness. It's a forge, and what you make of yourself in this fire will determine whether you remain a subject begging for a master's kindness or become a prince who commands his own fate. This is as far as most people go. They hear the truth. They recognize themselves in it. They feel the discomfort of being seen, and then they leave, hoping to forget what they learned here. But you can't forget. The autopsy is complete. You know now what's been killing you, and that knowledge makes you responsible. There is deeper work beyond this, mechanisms of power that cannot be spoken in public spaces, strategies that separate rulers from the ruled. But that knowledge is not for everyone. It's not even for most people who reach this point. It's only for those who prove they're willing to do the work when no one is watching, when there's no audience, no validation, no immediate reward. If you are that person, you'll know where to find the next level. Not because I'll tell you, but because people who are ready always find what they're looking for. Everyone else will return to their comfortable loneliness and wonder why nothing ever changes. The choice, as always, was never really a choice at all. You already know what you're going to do.